Literary Bar, brought to you by Dover Hotels.
Welcome back to the second part of this very engaging and captivating conversation with Chief Jackson, the chairman of Dover Hotels, Ikeja and Lekki. We're reviewing 3 books, 2 books that are personal to his Ibotoma ceremony, that is his traditional retirement ceremony, and another one of a man that he finds very, very a big influence on his life, Bob Marley, who turns 80 this year. Thank you for joining us. I told you this was good. This is one of the best drinks I've had so far in Lagos. So please come to the Dover Hotel and join them at their bar as you watch the literary bar. So welcome back to the break. Before we took that short break, we were talking to Chief Jackson about his trajectory from being a child who had lived a pampered life to a sudden turn of events in his father's financial situation. And they went from being chauffeur driven to riding back to Nigeria in a gongoro. If you don't know what gongoro is, you need to go. If you imagine a danfo is worse than that, just imagine these lorries with cattle in them. That's what a tipper truck, whatever, that is decrepit. That's what a gongoro.
And then they put benches.
With benches inside, you know, it would be traumatic for anyone. I wonder what your dad would have felt that turn of events. A lesser man would say, I don't want to see my father my children go through this. Let me just end it right here. But he persevered, yes. And you all came back to Nigeria. I wonder what the shame must have been for your parents, because people will say, oh, there they were eating with the high and mighty, and now they are looking for a floor and maybe food to eat. How was that welcome or anti-welcome?
Well, I'm not. Unfortunately, my dad is late, and he's not around to really interrogate him and then find out. But when I grew up, I felt a lot of pity for him. I equally I realized how brave man he was.
Yes.
That he did not die of heart attack, of the shame, because I'm sure a lot of people would have mocked him, his friends. I know that we got some of those mockings because some of his very good friends who treated us like royalties in Cameroon, when they saw us later in life, you greet them, they don't even answer you. You know, so going through that as a young man, I don't know what he would have been going through, but I think he was a courageous man. I think he was such a person who said, well, this is my reality. I need to live this reality. And so in his nature, unlike me that is a little bit melancholic, he was an outgoing person. And so he loved life, and I'm sure he never really bothered about the past. That's why he was able to still live maybe another close to 30-something years or more. Yes, after that, So to answer, I do not know what went through his mind, but whether we like it or not, there were consequences. There were consequences on the frustration. He took it out maybe on the children, sometimes on the wife. It's a natural thing.
It stands to reason.
Yes.
Now that we're all talking about mental health issues, only God knows how that affected
yes.
his mental health. But let's quickly move to your your university, tertiary education, and then your career from bank, other businesses, to us being here in this magnificent hotel. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, we left the village after almost 2 years, went back to Aba. He was able to rent accommodation for us, even though we didn't have furniture, but at least we had a decent neighborhood to live. Sent me back to a very decent school. Santa Maria was about the best in Abadan, even though school fees was a difficult thing. But so we're able to, I did primary school, but no longer had the luxury or the benefit of lessons. Sometimes you see other children having lessons, but because you can't pay, you just don't bother. So from there, I went into secondary school at a school called Anglican Grammar School in Bausi. And yeah, the years in secondary school were unique. Unique because it still perpetuated the poverty.
Yes, there was a particular incident that happened when we were in secondary school.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There were a few things. It's important. Our school was a grammar school, and so they taught us discipline, and then the seniors had a way to discipline you. And but there were a few lessons for me in secondary school. Two stand out, and it's there in the book. One was in what you call GS2. We're doing literature, a book called Potter's Wheel by Chukwuemeka Ike. And so one day we're coming out of the assembly in the evening assembly, because we're in boarding school. Something fell on my laps. I picked it up. It was the Potter's Wheel. When I got to the class, the name was Ubuna Nabugu. So the next day, we were in the same dormitory. It was on the other side of the dormitory. So the next morning, I told him I have his book. I jokingly said he should go and get me Gary, because village students really had Gary. And those of us who came from town never had Gary. So the next day, he brought Gary, I brought sugar, and then we soaked it. I had given him his book, about 3 or 4. And then in the evening, I got invitation from the deputy senior prefect. And I was told that, I was called, this is a thief. And they said I had stolen Ubona Nabugu's book. And that for them, the evidence, despite my denials, they found me guilty. They said the evidence, my motive for stealing was the Gary I got into. And so all the seniors in that room, all the prefects, found me guilty. And they said I should do V cutting. And yeah, when you do V, yes, because it's V, it's endless.
Yes.
So after about an hour, I knew that I would go nowhere. So I revolted and ran straight to the principal and complained about. And then his undoing was that in the course of they are holding court against me, he had mentioned that because I'm from Abriba, our people are smugglers, and that his uncle or brother was killed by Abriba smugglers, and that he thinks that my father would have been part of it. So I narrated that to the principal, what he said. So I think that was what saved me. So the principal berated him, and that was how, I was excused. But so the lesson for me from that encounter is that sometimes appearances are deceptive. Sometimes, because how can you be in a hall where everybody said you were guilty? Nobody heard my story. And in fact, in the course of my trial, it became clear that book, when second term, Obona had been looking for that book from first term. Do you understand? So maybe whoever stole it was the person that it fell off, and so it has guided me that even when the evidence appears, incontrovertible, it's always good to give the next person the benefit of doubt, especially when you don't have direct evidence.
Are there some of the things that motivated you to study law?
Well, I'm not really sure that was it, because everybody from primary school to secondary school, everybody felt I was logical, everybody felt I was argumentative. So everybody encouraged me to read law from primary school to secondary school. Yeah. So I think the second incident in school was when we were made prefects. We had a guy called Mokocha who came in a first term of when usually they make prefects during your class 4. So he came in first term. He was an SU member. So unfortunately, they made him senior prefect. The school revolted because we had a history and a custom. You need to have been in boarding school over the years. There's a culture. You can't come in your fourth year, a school of 5 years, you come in your fourth year, and then ascend that position. So people kicked against him. During our final year, as is a custom, we said we would do party to send off the old ones. He said we're not going to do it. We insisted. We overruled him because we're a prefect of 36. We overruled him, did the party, and then there were gate takings. And then after the party, the next day, he now said we should bring the gate takings. That he was a senior prefect, that he needed to. We told him it was not true, that he wasn't going to do that. Unknown to us, he went to the principal, made allegations. We didn't know. So on a Sunday, the principal said he wanted to see us. That was the third time we came. Waited. The principal didn't come. We wanted to go and see the principal. He ran to the principal and came back and told us that the principal said they had canceled the meeting and that it has been postponed. That was on a Sunday. Next day, Monday, we came to the assembly hall and our principal came and named 17 of us and said we had been suspended from school. Said we had been suspended, But we were lucky that his vice there and then opposed him and challenged him openly, and told him that it was never discussed, no fair hearing, nothing. And that's how we almost lost graduating. In fact, our principal said we're not going to take the third term exams. It was the other teachers who felt it was injustice that allowed us. And we're lucky because at that time our principal's health was already failing him. His eyes were already failing him, so he couldn't see. He needed people to report that, so we had to sneak in to take those exams. So the lesson for me was when I made up my mind at that very young age that no matter what the situation is, I must listen to the other party. I don't listen behind. If you come up to me and tell me, oh, blah, I say, okay, are you sure? I'll call the other person. Repeat that thing. And it has helped me, whether when I was working in the bank or in our business. In Dover, it doesn't matter who you are. No allegations is made without the other person being given the opportunity to interrogate those allegations.
Okay, let's briefly touch on your work in Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
Because you say from lawyer to bank, because one would really expect that you practice as a lawyer for some time and they ended up in a bank.
Yes.
Before you morphed into hotel business.
Yes.
So how has that been?
Yes, I started life as a lawyer in Aba. I was lucky as a copper in Adekiti. My Ogasiaro Agbai exposed me to a lot of litigation. So when I got to Aba, they were not paying me much. So within 3 months, I set up my own law firm. And in the process, I had a client that I did some work for.
Don't choose.
No, my law firm then was called Jackson Agbai, Abba and Co. Abribe Choke in Chambers. So I was able to, I showed candor and integrity. And at that very young age, a client of mine who was extremely wealthy was approached to set up a bank, to invest in a bank. And so he was taking me from Aba to attend those meetings. I helped in incorporating the bank. And then after that, he said he was advised that the company secretary, legal advisor, must be his own person. So that's how he insisted and he convinced the other investors that he needed his own person. So that's how I had to leave Aba to joined Citizens Bank in 1990. Yes, at that young age.
You're actually part of the founding.
Yes, I incorporated it. Larry was MD. I used to come for the meetings, and so I joined Citizens Bank on the 13th of May, 1990. Relocated to Lagos, which was traumatic for somebody coming from Aba. It's a peaceful place, and then you come into chaos, total chaos, you know. So that was it. So Citizens Bank was wonderful. Larry had great ideas. He was ahead of his time. And we were exposed to all kinds of things: customer service, marketing, operations. And one of the things that Larry taught us was respect for the individual. That the individual was the centerpiece of whether the family or any organization. And then when you respect them, then it's easier for them to translate that respect to the customer. You know, and so those years were remarkable for me. Those years were remarkable, and I learned a lot, and I say it prepared me for the business world.
For the Dover hotels that we're seeing. Now there are 3 of it.
Yes.
In Lekki, the Lekki branch is 20 years old or 21?
Yeah, it will be 21 this October.
And then here in the heart of Ikeja.
Yes.
Dover exclusive, and then
Dover Ikeja.
Dover Ikeja.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Yes.
It looks really beautiful. So we go. God, keep talking to you. It's all. I mean, the time just keeps going. But I can't stop here until I touch on another great influence in your life, which is Bob Marley.
Yeah.
And this year we're celebrating 80 years of Bob Marley. How did you, let me even ask this, how did you meet Bob Marley? How did you fall in love with him? He was just 36 when he died.
Yes.
But he's achieved so much, and his legend lives with us.
Yes, I fell in love with Bob Marley in 1979.
Wow.
Yes, I was in what you call maybe GS2, yeah, or class 2. And we came home to the village in Abriba. And my father's junior brother's boy, as they say in Igbo, apprentice named Jacob, came with a cassette of Rastaman Vibration. And so I heard it for the first time. It sounded different. Of all the music I had listened to in my life, it sounded different. And so every day, once I do my household chores, go to the stream, fetch water, come back, I listen to Bob Marley. 79. Yes, and every single track, none was better than the other. None was better than the other. So throughout the December, I never went out. All I did was listening to. I'd never heard of Bob Marley before. Or reggae. Well, we had reggae. We were used to U-Roy, I-Roy, Dillinger, Black Diamonds, Black Uhuru. Okay. Do you understand? Mighty Diamonds, Black Uhuru, all those ones. We were used to them. U-Roy, but Max Romeo and the Upsetters. But I never listened to Bob Marley. That was the first time, and I fell in love. 79 years. I'm not. No, it's 78. It's 78. Then in 79, the man I mentioned, my father's last born, who lives in Minneapolis, came back for the first time, and came with Survival album.
So I can't even ask you at this point, which is your favorite Bob Marley? I can't.
All. So he came with Survival, and then the same way, every single whatever song there was. So he was the first person who said, this is going to be the greatest artist in the world. 1970, I don't forget it. He had just graduated from university, and he said, this is going to be the greatest artist in the world.
A lot has been said and written, acted, documented about Bob Marley, but you claim that this is the best one. What about this stands out for you? Bob Marley, My Son, in honor of his 80th birthday, June 6th, and we'll be celebrating Bob Marley all through the year. I know you even have a Bob Marley bag. That is to show how much you love this guy.
Yes, yes, yes. For references, we've had Bob Marley by in Dover Lekki from November 2004 till date. All we played there is Bob Marley. Yes, all the books are wonderful, and at the last count, I think I've read about, this is my 19th on Bob Marley.
Have you seen anything different?
Well, people talk from their own perspective, but what it does is that it helps you to synthesize what the truth is. Do you understand? Because by the time you read several, then people write with their nuances and their prejudices. Do you understand? So, but by the time you read a lot of it, you are able to aggregate and then harvest what you think is your own truth. Why Bob Marley, My Son, by Sedala Buka, the mother, why it's important for me was I had read all the other ones, but something was always missing. The early years. The early years, we just hear, oh, he was born, he didn't know his father. But in that book, she was able to explain, maybe just like me, it's possible that Bob Marley was a one-night child. Because she said she used to escape when she knew Bob Marley's father, who was a poor captain superintending around their neighborhood in 9 Mile. In Jamaica. He lived in a shack. So maybe the guy said chasing her. So midnight, she would leave.
And she was a teenager.
She was 15. She would leave and then go to, I think, one of those nights, she went there. And while they were there, something happened. His father, Malcolm Omeria, got to know and then raised alarm. And then the sister said, be in that white man's house. So he chased him there. From there, she ran away and came back to the house to hide. In less than, they interrogated him in 2-3 months. She said spitting. She was pregnant. And then she was forced, the man was forced to marry him. To marry her. You know, and then that's how Bob Marley was born. So what the book did was to explain certain aspects of his life that people didn't know. For example, his relationship with Bonnie Wailer. Bonnie Wailer, his father Thaddeus at that time, came to 9 Mile, was staying in 9 Mile. And so Bonnie and Nesta, that's Bob Marley, were in the same elementary school. That's where they forged their relationship. It is only in that book that you will know. That's where when people say, oh, Peter Tosh taught him how to play guitar. It's not true. He was already playing guitar with Bonnie in that school. They were already singing in their school choir. They were already going to church and singing. They were already singing. And then later, Bonnie's father relocated back to Kingston. And then a few years later, Bob Marley's dad now sent for him to come and meet him. When he got there, he had arranged for him to stay with a certain lady. Do you understand? And then he only came to see him once. The news went to his parents that he had gone back to see that black boy. And then they threatened him that they were going to disinherit him. That's the father. So that was how he never saw Bob Marley again. And then Bob Marley was there going errands for that woman. And then one day somebody saw him and went back to 9 Mile and reported to the mom that this is the situation of your daughter. So the mom came back, picked him back to 9 Mile, and he started his village life again. After a year or two, the mother decided to relocate to Kingston to go and look for a job. Do you understand? So I think Bonnie Wailer's Thaddeus, O'Reilly, I think, was eyeing her when they were in 9 Miles. So when he got back to Kingston, they linked up and then got married. That's where he had Pearl with her.
Okay.
Do you understand? So Bonnie Livingston has a half-sister called Pearl. And Pearl is the half-sister of Bob Marley, from Bob Marley's mother. Do you understand? To Thaddeus Livingston. Do you understand? So Bob Marley and Bob Marley and Bonnie Wailer are like brothers and sisters. So that's how that bond continued, because Bob had to be living in the house for a while before he went to stay with his auntie. And so,
I mean, okay, so that's his backstory, but I'm wondering the thing about his philosophy that appeals to you. I mean, what were his... I keep saying this guy is just 36 years old.
Yes.
And his imprint on the world seems to be total.
Yes. For me, so many things. Tell me of all the music writers, songwriters. Tell me. He was a philosopher.
Yes.
He was a poet. He was a seer. Do you understand? And to remember that he didn't go beyond second grade in secondary school.
Amazing.
Yes. And he could write all those songs. Some people say, oh, this one was written by... It's not true. He wrote virtually everything. Do you understand? So for me, what is amazing was he wrote the best songs. He rendered them the best ways. More importantly, he tells us that our circumstances should not define us. A man who only saw his father once in life, and by the time he was maybe 13, 14, the mother had relocated to Delaware to go and work. So he was alone, sleeping here, but he was focused on his music. He was doing his rehearsals in Studio One at Coxon's studios. Everybody knew him. He was the first to come for rehearsals. He was the last to leave. Do you understand? And he kept on practicing his trade, improving on his game. If you look at the early songs when he was doing ska and then rocksteady, see how he now transformed all those songs. He made them better. He made them, when he came to reggae, the same songs, he transformed them. Look at No Woman, No Cry. It was another song, for me, one of the worst in Natty Dread album. But look at what he did in life with the same No Woman, No Cry.
Yeah, and One Love, I hear, is one of the most important songs for the century.
It was voted the best song for the century. And Exodus was voted the best album of the century. So, for me, think of a man who he got exposed to Island Records with Catch Up Fire between 1972 and 1973, depending on who is writing. He died in 1981. So we are talking about 8 to 9 years. In 8 to 9 years, he was performing virtually everywhere in Europe, everywhere in America, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Japan, in that number of years. And asked them, they said, in the tour, he's the first to enter the bus, he's the last to leave. They finish a program, and they go back to the hotel. While others are sleeping, what does he do? He goes back. He starts rehearsing a new song. He was always writing. So what else?
It's really fun, and I can draw parallels between his life philosophy, and yours.
Yes.
Because you are dedicated. I mean, see all you've been able to achieve. When we look at the Bongoro journey to where you are today, like I said, some people that have given up, and they would have spent their whole life telling stories. Or because, once upon a time, my father had this, my mother had that, we lost everything, so I couldn't find my way. But you have found, not just have you found your way, you're making a way for other people. There are testimonials here from the people who have met you and the people from your village. We'd had to take his own book the Jackson Agbai that we know. You've done so much for your community because you recognize what it is to be without. And in your own way, you make sure that people have when they're supposed to have. I mean, people don't have to know you for you to take an interest in them. I've introduced a lot of my charities to you, and they're all beneficiaries of your kindness and your generosity. So I just want to say, if you can give some sort of an advice to the young people of today who, I mean, there are songs today, I will be rich, people spend time in church, they're looking for breakthrough, people are always wanting, ritual killings, body parts harvesting and selling, and all of that. What happened to dedication and hard work, and most of all, integrity? What can you tell young people now?
Well, the first thing I will tell young people, and it's very important. There is no such thing as ritual money. Anybody who tells you you can commit murder, whether that of a human being or an animal or whatever, and you make money, is fooling you. Of all those who've been caught, not a single one has told you that they've made money. So for the youths, it's important we tell them that focus on work. Focus on work. We must not all be wealthy, but when you work, you are not likely going to beg for food. There is no quick fix. You don't see Jackson at my age and you think, oh, this is not true. There were days that I needed people, aunties, to trek 2 miles to go and eat food so that I would be alive. You need integrity. I tell people I worked in the bank for 10 years. Nobody would say, I gave you a tie. Some people say, oh, you will see, you will suffer. God it doesn't work that way. The other thing I need to tell people, yes, we need to go to church. We need to go to mosque. However, you can never substitute work for church. There will be no manna, no amount of prayers, no amount of prophecies would produce bread. The only bread that is produced is the one you go to the oven and prepare, and then it comes, you can eat it. No amount of prayers, no amount of sacrifices will produce a car. You must raise the money, and then you go. And the truth is, you need to have skill. You need to have knowledge. You need to have experience. Wealth comes with knowledge, skill, and experience. And it comes over time. You can't be in a hurry. If you make money at the age of 25, 30, what would you do with it? Those who think, oh, you want to make money, but the only thing I have to tell them, is it sustainable? We were here in the 90s, people who did 419, we saw them in convoys and all that. What became of them after 20 years? You do not even have the discipline, the lifestyle to sustain it. Who goes to a nightclub and spends 2, 3, 4 million naira a night? Who does that? That's called, when P2B talks about consumption, that is consumption. That 3, 4 million can buy keke, put on the road, and then you make money from it. When you buy a luxury car for 300-400 million, do you realize that that car can start a factory that gives you money over time? And so it's important that we tell the young people, you can never substitute hard work. All the billionaires in America, in Europe, in Japan, all of them, they are billionaires because they make money. Dangote is the richest man in Africa. You see what he's doing. He borrows money, he invests those monies. We see it. Tell me anywhere in the world where the richest man is the man that does juju. There's no such thing. And the thing is that for people to justify their indolence, instead of them to work hard, anybody they see who has wealth, they label him. And woe betide you that any of your relations or your child dies. When you have money, they say, he's doing juju. Go and check. Outside those who are into quick fix or getting money from politics, even for money from politics, it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. If it has no foundation, how many years? We know now, in the Second Republic, we were all there. We saw what happened. Governors whose children drove Rolls Royce in London and all that. Because let's forget that what is happening here happened in the 70s and the early 80s. What happened after? What happened after? I don't want to name names. I saw one of them, their child, in the 90s. I went to buy a textile in Spartanburg. The child was a former governor. His child was driving ice cream truck. These were people that their parents could give 1-2 million pounds in those days. Yes, so it's important that we realize that the Chinese don't go to church. They don't go to mosque. Virtually everything we use now in Europe, in America, in Nigeria comes from China. The Indians are on their heels. They don't go to church. They don't go to mosque. Those who go to church and mosque are in the minority. Yet, we see the ascendancy. Every day we are praying. We are what? Yet, people ask me, what is your greatest challenge in your business? Is it electricity? I said it's not electricity. It's the human element. Our people do not want to work. They want easy money. Even when you employ them, they just, what is this thing? It's just temporary. It's just temporary.
Before they hammer.
Yes, before they hammer. Hammer for what? What are you hammering? So we must go back to learn that no society progresses if your A is not your A. If your B is not your B. When we enter into contractual obligations, and contracts can be oral, they can be written, they can be by conduct. When we enter, let us ensure that we abide by the terms of those contracts, whether they are oral contracts or written contracts.
Integrity.
When people say do this and you promise to do that, do it for them. I can give you a bet that quick fix money will take you nowhere.
Well, Chief, are you sure you're ready to retire? Because there's a lot of fire inside of you that can be extinguished with Ibotoma. So you need to hold that ma now to preach that hard work, dedication, and most of all, integrity are the ingredients that have come together to create the success that you are. And you are not about to rest on these laurels. I mean, this book, beyond what you've written, the book where people are talking about your hard work, your commitment to society, the women, all the stuff you've done is even bigger than your own personal account. And for that, I say, congratulations.
Thank you.
On being able to be honored in your lifetime. And I think that's another thing I really like about Ibotoma, that people are honored in their lifetime. You don't wait till they're dead to print all these stories. Like I said, we can't get enough of Chief. We cannot get enough of Chief. And that's why I say for all the successes achieved, for all the accolades, all the titles he has as a Chief Kukunda, the shining star of Ariba. We're yet to decide if Kukunda is an insect that glows at night or the star.
Or the star of the...
But it is something that shines. So may the glory of the Lord continue to shine over you. May you continue to expand and excel in all that you do. I mean, the people here have spoken, and Vox Populi.
Vox Day.
So congratulations on Ibotoma. And then we wish you Godspeed in doing more, because we need more and more of all that you have, your excellence, your intelligence. Thank you so much for agreeing to give us your time.
Thank you.
I won't thank you enough because it's an ongoing thing. You are a gift that keeps on giving. So we'll keep having cause to say thank you for so many things that you're doing. Thank you again for being on the literary bar. Coming to you from the Dover bar. You can see our drink. After this, they've lined up more things for us and food. I encourage all of you to visit the Dover Hotel. The jollof rice in Dover is magic on a plate. It's a festival of flavors in your mouth. Their rooms are excellent. The customer service is amazing. I give a special shout out to Gloria Imodi, the MD of this place. She is so hardworking and dedicated. And to everyone else here who has made our stay at the Dover for this episode so warm and welcoming, I want to say thank you. That's it for this really engaging two-part conversation with Chief Agbai Jackson, the chairman of Dover Hotels. And we hope to bring more conversations with him along the way because he has so much to say and share with us. So thank you for being with us. I can't thank you enough for your time. And don't forget, do make your life a great story. My name is Chinedum. Bye-bye.
Literary Bar was brought to you by Dover Hotels.